Let's make some sandwiches today with that Japanese milk loaf that we made in the previous video, the lovely shokupan. What are we going to make? Tamago, which is a Japanese egg salad sandwich. There's a couple of tricks on how to get it super creamy, so stick around, I'll show you those. And the other sandwich is going to be a pork katsu sandwich. A lovely piece of pork that's been breaded in panko. It's going to be super crispy, and we'll make some katsu sauce to go with it. So if you don't know what a lot of that is, stick around in the video. I will explain and show you all of it. Let's get cooking. Oh, and if you're new, please subscribe. A lot of work goes into these videos, so I really appreciate if you find any of this helpful and useful that you would consider subscribing. Okay, let's get cooking.
Get yourself 4 large eggs, and we're just going to boil these in simmering water. Make sure it is simmering. Cover it and boil it for 10 minutes, and then we're going to drain them.
So we've got the eggs. Get yourself an ice bath, and all we want to do is just stop this cooking process. While they're cooling down, I'm going to make the katsu sauce. Really easy. I'll show you this one.
So you need 5 tablespoons or 62 grams of ketchup, 4 tablespoons or 36 grams of Worcestershire sauce, 1.5 tablespoons or 20 grams of oyster sauce, and then about a tablespoon or 15 grams of rice wine vinegar, and a teaspoon each of ginger and garlic paste, and then a teaspoon of honey. You may need a bit more later. Okay, mix that up, and then we're going to add in about 16 grams, about 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. Nice bit of pepper. Give that a mix, have a taste, and if you want it a bit sweeter, I think I do, I'm going to put another teaspoon of honey. Mix that through, and it is done. My version of a little cheat katsu sauce.
So we've got our eggs. We're just going to peel these. Tap the top, and just gently tap it around, and just gently roll it. Put them in your water, and then we'll peel them. And just see, there's that little pocket that it's created. Use your thumb, take your time, and then just every now and again you can just dip it in the water. So you can see the skin, the membrane, just separates there from the shell. Perfectly boiled egg. No bits come off, no nothing. We've got our eggs, and I'll show you what we're going to do with these.
Now the trick for this is make a small little incision and then split the egg in half, and you want to keep the yolk separate. You can just see it is beautifully set, lovely and round. And now set that aside. So you've got all your egg yolks in one and your egg whites in another bowl. Work your way through. You should have 4 right there. Then get the back of a fork and start mashing these up. You want a nice little fine texture. Then here comes all the goodies. We're going to add in some lovely bit of pepper, a nice generous seasoning of salt, and you need Kewpie Japanese mayo, at least 4, 5, 6 tablespoons. Don't be shy with this stuff. And then a little splash of half and half. You can use cream if you haven't got that. Give that a little mix through, and you can see that's lovely and creamy. Now to your egg whites. I like to slice them all up first like this, and then chop them all up. That way you get these lovely little bits of texture all the way through your egg sandwich, so it's not just all mashed together. Take your time, work your knife all the way through, and then put this in with your egg yolk mixture. Mix that through, and then have a little taste, and I think it's going to need a touch more salt, a little bit more pepper, and I'm just going to let it now in a splash more half and half. Okay, that is your Tamago mixture set. Tastes like crack. Oh yeah, that is good stuff indeed. Okay, set that aside, and we'll move on to slicing our shokupan. Look at the beautiful crumb on that bread. Very nice indeed. Okay, now try and cut it straight, and cut yourself about 4 slices. We'll make 2 sandwiches, not too thick, not too thin. A very nice crumb indeed. Butter your bread generously. It's an insurance policy to make sure you do not get a soggy bottom sandwich. Now you've got 2 options. Generously pile on your egg mixture on both sides of the bread, and then flatten it out nicely if you've got one of these little chef little spatulas, and then put the other half on top. Or you can just put a massive wodge of it on one side. Try and get it in the sandwich as a chef. Put your little bit of bread on top, and then we're going to wrap these up in some cling film. Now the trick to this is to wrap it 3 ways first. So once over, then the other side, then get the bottom, then lift it up and give it a little shake down. And what we're trying to do is compact this sandwich. But we don't want to squeeze all that filling out. We don't want it to come out like toothpaste now, do we? So we basically want to wrap that up, get it nice and tight, and then we're going to do the same with the other sandwich. Put it into a container, Put another container on top, gently squish it and put it in the fridge until later. You can do this with plates if you don't have it. Now you're going to need yourself a nice little meat mallet. If you don't have one of these, you can use fork and a rolling pin. And I've got some pork loin chops. I'm just going to trim off some of the fat, which is an optional step. You can use pork shoulder steaks as well. They're really nice as well, but I'm going for these nice loin bits as well. And then what we're going to do is thin this out, not too much. Hit it with the spiky side. We want it to be about 1/2 inch thick. Now stab it a couple of times with a knife. This just stops it from curling up when you fry it. Repeat the process with the rest of your steak. Now if you want to keep the fat on, all you got to do is take your knife and just run it on the fat side like this. Just keep working it, making small little incisions. It helps it render and get it nice and tasty. Season this generously with salt and pepper and really push it in. All those little nooks and crannies and those little holes you made, that is all for this lovely seasoning. And then set this aside.
So we're just going to add a bit of salt and pepper to the flour, to the egg. And just whip up this egg wash, and then we're going to basically do a little penne. Just set this aside for a second. Now you can do this with chopsticks, or you could do this by hand, or just get a glove. Flour. Shake off the excess, make sure you get those side bits there. Go in with your egg. I guess I'll use this hand. One dry, one wet. And then get that into your panko. So then we're getting a slightly bigger container, but oh well. Go back again, turn it around, and then keep pushing it down. Just like that. And try not to make a mess, which I'm sure I'm going to make a mess everywhere. And then all that panko is going to stick on that pork. There you got a lovely, lovely bit of pork, katsu. Okay, set that aside. Repeat the process. Flour. Move those out of the way. There's always that struggle when you're doing breading. Am I using enough panko? Am I using too much panko? And then if you use too much, obviously you've got a lot of waste. So you've got to judge it. Okay. Just make sure everything is coated. And then we just let those set up for a second, and then we're going to fry them.
Now get yourself whatever cabbage you have. I'm going to use this lovely Nappa cabbage. Take off a few leaves. We're just going to make a little V cut and just cut out that little stalk. We don't need that for this. Cut it in half, top and tail it, roll it like a cigar, and then give it a nice little chiffonade. Get practicing those knife skills. Just run your knife through it. And then when it's nicely shredded, we're just going to put this in some ice water to get it nice and crispy. Set that aside for later.
So we've got our beautiful pork. Let's get ready to fry this. Use a neutral oil. I think I'm using sunflower because that's what I had in the cupboard. I've used about 1 liter of oil in a pan that's kind of half filled. You don't want to overfill it, because if you put it too high, put anything in there, as soon as it hits it, fire department is coming around your house. So let's get frying these at about 350.
Now get your heat ready to about 350. Use a probe, that really helps, at 350 Fahrenheit. Gently lower your pork in, and after about 3 to 5 minutes, it should start looking golden brown like this. Okay, almost there. I'm just going to put that back in for about another minute, and that's the golden brown I'm looking for. Set that aside on a rack and immediately add some flaky salt. Now repeat this with the rest of your pork, heating up as you go. That's why you need to use a temperature probe to make sure your temperature comes up to 350. Do this one at a time so you don't set your fire alarms off or burn yourself. Right, once they're all done, season and set aside. While that is resting, we're just going to spin our cabbage so it's nice and dry. Give it a couple of spins, drain it, and then put it into a container with a bit of kitchen paper and some more on top just to blot it dry. You do not want soggy and wet cabbage in your sandos. Take out a little bit, as much as you need, a few spoons, a little bit of salt and pepper, mix that through and set that aside. Now we're going to make one little quick sauce. You're going to get some Kewpie, a few tablespoons, and some mustard. Now ideally you need that hot Japanese mustard or English mustard, but I've only got Dijon, so use what you can. Mix that through, a couple of spoons of each, and set that aside. Now we're going to slice our lovely shoku pan. Beautiful crumb there again, nice little money shots. Slice about 4 slices, not too thick, not too thin, kind of like regular sliced bread you would buy at the store. Generously butter your bread so you do not get a soggy bottom, and then you're going to add a nice dollop of that Kewpie mustard mayo. Smear that all over one slice of the bread. Add some of the cabbage, not too much, because you don't want this to be a cabbage sando. Then we're going to get some of that lovely katsu sauce and put as much or as little as you like. I recommend at least 1 to 2 tablespoons on that bottom part. Then take a lovely piece of pork. Look, it just fits there gloriously. It was meant to be. Put that on top. A bit more of your katsu sauce. Be generous. Lots of flavor here. And then you're going to put your other piece of bread on top. Gently flatten these down, and then we're going to wrap these in a bit of grease-proof paper. This is optional, but I like doing it this way because what we're going to do is we're going to press these slightly. Not for too long, about 10-15 minutes. Get your grease-proof, wrap it just like that, fold it over, put it into a container. You're going to put another container on top. Again, if you don't have this, you can use a plate. Couple of tins of tomatoes and let that sit for about 10-15 minutes. While that is setting, we're going to cut our tamago, our egg sandwiches. Peel off your cling film. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut off all the crusts just like this. They look absolutely amazing. Set them aside. They're going to be the best snacks you are going to have for a very long time. Okay, neatly trim that up. And you can traditionally cut these in kind of like finger sandwich size, triangles, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to cut them in half after I've just eaten a little bit there. Very nice. And you should have a very nice pressed tamago sandwich. Look at that, my son. Very nice indeed. Repeat the process with your other egg sandwich. I like doing it this way rather than cutting it in the cling film. I know a lot of YouTubers and people do that, but that's not really my jam. Sit these aside. Very nice indeed. And then we're going to move on to our pork katsu sandos. Take off your tomatoes, take off the other container, and we're just going to unwrap these sandwiches. Do it one at a time. They should be nice and pressed. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're just going to trim off those ends. Feel free to eat some while you're doing this. This is one of the treats of being the person who trims the sandwiches. Or save them for later. Trust me, this will be delightful. Now you can cut these in little rectangles. That'd be quite nice, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to cut it down the middle confidently. Look at that pork katsu sando. Now that's how you get the party started, my friends. Very nice indeed. Trim up the other one exactly the same, cut it in half, and you can wrap these for later, or you can get the party started right now, get some mates round, pop open some sake or a nice cold beer, and start chowing down. Enjoy, my friends.
Yeah, pretty good. Give them a go. Tamago and the pork katsu. Pretty happy with those. Let's give them a little taste. Now that just looks amazing. You need QP to make these. You cannot make these without QP. It is not the same sandwich. The bread's really nice and soft. Shofu pan's amazing. Holds up pretty well. That butter gives you a nice little layer of protection. You've got that lovely egg filling. Amazing. You used to get these in the 7-Eleven all over Japan when I was there, and it was just a staple. Let's try one of these katsus. Wow. You just know that's going to be good before you've even had a bite. Ooh. You get a lot of crunch from the panko and the cabbage. You get that katsu flavor, really nice. Oh, damn. Yum. Right, if you find content like this useful, please, please, please subscribe, because it goes a long way to blow up our channel, especially when it's just me doing everything on my own. So it really, really helps. Appreciate all of you that have done so far. Okay, time to enjoy one of these. Maybe wrap up the rest, and I'll see you all on the next video. Cheers.